Hi, good evening and greetings from AsiaSafe and Asian Oceanian Society of Radiology. We are having the MR Safety webinar series as part of the MR Safety Week celebrations. And today we have a very important topic to be discussed, that is on MR Safety Board. We have with us the President of Asian Oceanian Society of Radiology, Professor Noriyuki Tomiyama, is also the Professor of Diagnostic and Interventional Radiology at Osaka University and has done immense work in radiology. We wish to have Professor Dr. Noriyuki Tomiyama to give us the opening remarks. Over to you, Professor.
Hi, good evening, everyone. I'm Noriyuki Tomiyama from Osaka University in Japan, and I'm the president of AOSR. Welcome to the AOSR webinar. Today's topic is MR safety. It's a great pleasure for me to moderate today's session. The number of MR examinations is increasing worldwide as MR technology continue to advance rapidly, providing valuable diagnostic information. However, I think almost all hospitals have experienced minor or major accidents related to MR safety in the MR suite. Truly, yesterday in my hospital, we had a minor incidental accident during maintenance by the MR company. Stepladder, mostly made of carbon, but with an iron hinge was attached to the MR machine. Fortunately, it was safely removed from 5 strongmen. Okay, let's learn about MR safety from today's lectures. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor. Thank you, Professor Noriyuki Tomiyama, the President of Asian Oceanian Society of Radiology, for giving that opening remarks. We all know that MR safety is a subject that needs considerable attention at this point of time, with increasing number of MR installations all over the world. I am Dr. Rijo Mathew, the MR Safety Ambassador for Asian Oceanian Society of Radiology and also AsiaSafe's. As part of the AsiaSafe committee, we have been promoting radiation safety and MR safety. We have with us the chair of AsiaSafe, Emeritus Professor Eng Kwan Hung, with us. I will request the chair of AsiaSafe, Professor Eng Kwan Hung, to say a few words before we start the session.
Hi, good evening. I'm Professor Eng Kwan Hung, the chair of the AsiaSafe, and thank you for joining us. And this MR safety, as mentioned by the president of AOSR, is timely, and we are fortunate to have Dr. Rijo Mathew, who takes on this very important task to spearhead MR safety in the Asia-Oceania region. And today we welcome 2 guest speakers, one from Dr. Tamara from Philippines and Dr. Hemant from India. And I look forward to a very interesting discussion. And hopefully by the end of this, we will have some recommendations for all the member countries. And thank you very much. We look forward to having an interesting panel discussion.
Thank you, Emeritus Professor Eng Kwan Hung, the chair of AsiaSafe. Ever since the 2001 incident happened, MR accident happened, there has been several guidelines on MR safety, and there has been several publications on MR safety. There has been several devices that has come up. There has been several websites or learning resources that has come up. But still, the number of MR accidents are increasing, and every MR department, if you ask them closely, they will have a story to tell about a near miss or some MR accident. So it's time for us to have some serious introspection on this MR safety and to come out with some regulatory agency, some regular training and certification agency, and an accreditation agency. And that is the relevance of the today's topic, MR Safety Board. To give us the perspectives on MR Safety Board, we have two speakers with us. The first talk will be given by Dr. Tamara Razon Cuenza. She is the AOSR MR Safety Ambassador and also the Secretary of the CTMR Society of Philippines. And she's a radiology consultant in general radiology and advanced cardiovascular imaging. She's a fellow of the Philippine College of Radiology, a fellow of the CTMR Society of Philippines and Ultrasound Society of Philippines. She is the Chair of Fellowship Training Council of the CT-MRI Society of Philippines, and her interests are in advanced cardiovascular imaging and, of course, in MR safety. With this introduction, may I invite Dr. Tamara Razon Cuenza to deliver her lecture on MR Safety Board. The MR Safety Board, the way forward, has got two parts, one presented by Dr. Tamara Razon Cuenza and the second one by Dr. Hemant Patel of India. Over to you, Dr. Tamara.
Thank you. Good evening. I'm Dr. Tamara Razon Cuenza, a radiologist from the Philippines and an Asian Oceanian Society of Radiology MR Safety Ambassador. MR safety is a particular challenge, and it seems that this is not due to the lack of recommended safety protocols, which abound, but due to inconsistencies in execution at the point of care. There must be a way forward in the field of MR safety where a more structured program is in place at the institutional and national levels such that these inconsistencies evolve into constants and a culture of safety permeates all MRI environments, and that way forward begins with the formation of an MRI safety board. It is estimated that 50,000 MRI systems are installed globally, and more than 95 million MRI scans are performed each year around the world. And it is anticipated that the demand for MRI examinations will only continue to rise. Among OECD member countries, Japan has the highest density of MRI units at 57 per million population, followed by the US at 38 and Korea at 36 per million as of 2021. And while MRI scans are becoming ubiquitous and routine in healthcare settings, the presence of MRI machinery is not innocuous, and this mere presence of such a powerful device poses significant safety risks. Whether or not there is an ongoing scan, the MRI continuously produces a powerful magnetic field, which is about 15,000 Gauss for a 1.5 Tesla magnet. That's 30,000 times the Earth's magnetic field. As the sign posted on every scanner door asserts, the magnet is always on. There are actually 3 magnetic fields produced in an MRI scanner with potential safety risks. The first is the strong static magnetic field, which can attract and accelerate ferromagnetic objects towards the bore of the magnet at the center of the machine, potentially turning them into projectiles, displace implants, and affect the function of devices. The second is the radio frequency field created by RF coils, which can induce electric currents, particularly in the presence of metallic implants, and potentially cause tissue heating. The third is the varying gradient magnetic field, which can induce electric currents, particularly in the presence of metallic implants, and potentially cause tissue heating, produce noise, which can potentially damage the hearing system, which is why hearing protection is necessary during scanning, and cause nerve stimulation, particularly in ultra-high field magnets. These magnetic fields can cause 5 dangerous interactions in patients with metallic foreign bodies, including projectile effect, twisting, burning, artifacts, and device malfunction. A Google search on MRI accidents shows multiple incidents in the past decade making headlines, even as recently as 2023, and resulting in injury and even death. The most recent of these occurred in October 2023, when a nurse at a California hospital was pinned by a hospital bed that was pulled into the MRI machine and sustained crush injuries. As few and far between as these accidents may occur, When it comes to MR accidents, they may be extremely rare. However, they can also be extremely catastrophic. This is an image from the particular incident. An investigation into the incident showed the following findings. The patient and accompanying non-MR personnel were left unsupervised by MR personnel. The patient and accompanying hospital staff were not screened prior to entering the MR environment with the MR unsafe hospital bed. The door to the machine room, Zone 4, was left open. The safety alarm never sounded due to failure of annual testing as recommended, and MR safety training was not given to some employees. In this incident, there was a breach of MR safety protocols on multiple levels, despite the existing policies. This is an image of an MRI of the thighs of a 40-year-old female patient who was screened and cleared verbally, visually, and using a metal detector wand. The patient was wearing her own clothes during the scan, a t-shirt and jogging pants. The MRI machine was a 3 Tesla. There are what appear to be susceptibility artifacts along the lateral periphery of both thighs. This patient sustained second-degree thermal burns in these areas, which were only noted after the examination. It was later found that the jogging pants had thin metal fibers in these areas. In this incident, injury could have been prevented by having the patient change into MR-compatible clothing, as is the recommended MR safety protocol. Burns are actually the most common injury that occurs during MRI imaging. And according to the US FDA, between 2008 and 2017, burns accounted for 59% of MR safety events. US FDA data has shown that as the number of MRI examinations increases, so do accidents, with MRI classified adverse events growing at close to 3 times the rate of procedure volume. It is estimated that thousands of incidents go unreported every year, and that the US FDA captures less than 1 to 5% of MR adverse events that actually occur. A European multi-center study published in 2022 found that only 1 in 3 MR-related incidents are reported, with some incidents which could have led to catastrophic outcomes. The results of the study showed a negative correlation between the number of annual incidents per scanner and staff MR knowledge and the number of MR physicists per scanner. The findings in the study suggested an inadequate safety culture. The study concluded that much more accessible education and focused involvement of the management of the operations is required, and much increased knowledge about MR safety is needed by radiologists and radiographers. While best practice recommendations exist, MR safety practices are generally inconsistent, and there is a gap when it comes to regulation of safety at the point of care. In any healthcare setting, patient and personal safety is paramount, even more so in the presence of a machine with a power for definite potential but absolutely preventable harm. To ensure safety within an MR environment, a structured safety program must be established, implemented, and maintained, and there should be a suitable organizational structure for ensuring MR safety in and around MR systems, suites, and their environments. The Inter-Society Working Group on MR Safety developed recommended responsibilities for the management of MR safety, and this is a consensus of scientific and medical societies, including the International Society for Magnetic Resonance in Medicine, with a general structure that can be translated into the working practice of different safety cultures and legislative environments. At the institutional level, there are assigned individuals with specified roles and responsibilities. The MR Medical or Research Director is the single individual operationally and ultimately responsible for safety in the MR environment, and this role is to be performed by a radiologist or physician who will provide guidance, oversight, and assume or assign operational responsibility during any MR procedure and establish the MR safety policies and guidelines of the site. The MR Safety Officer is one or more individuals closely involved with scanning and fluent in the operation and procedures of the MR system, and will execute the MR safety practices. This role will typically be performed by a senior radiographer technologist assigned by the MR medical director or research director. The MR safety expert is one or more individuals with a higher level of technical expertise in the operation and maintenance of the MR system and the physics aspects underlying the various MR safety issues, and would be expected to be able to provide advanced guidance and information. This role will typically be performed by a physicist, not necessarily available in-house, and may be external or advisory, and may even be an engineer or technician who is on call to provide technical assistance as needed. These roles each have a specific list of safety board, which will develop, establish, maintain, and update policies, guidelines, procedures, and protocols related to MR safe practice, provide safety education, training, and certification of MR professionals, develop processes for accreditation, including certification and recertification, audits, and compliance, and possibly extend to provide consultations for challenging situations and record keeping and analysis of adverse events. The leadership of the MRI Safety Board must include national and state or regional levels of the radiological societies to provide the necessary clinical expertise on imaging protocols and guidelines, and include other stakeholders related to the MR environment, radiologists, technologists, medical physicists and engineers, and the health ministry at the local and national levels. Of note is that while there is existing accreditation for MR machines and equipment at the national level, there is lack of accreditation for the actual individuals directly involved with ensuring the safety of patients and personnel within the MRI environment. And this will be a primary and essential role for an MR safety board serving as a regulatory training and accreditation body. These are lines from the vision statement of the American Board of Magnetic Resonance Safety. Every magnetic resonance facility must be staffed by competent, credentialed individuals who oversee the physical and operational safety of the MR equipment, environment, and processes. Just as quality assurance mandates accreditation of the MR site itself and its equipment, the individuals responsible for safety in the MR environment must also possess and demonstrate a requisite standardized knowledge base and decision-making ability and be certified accordingly. Some key takeaway points from today. As the number of MR examinations increase globally, MR-related safety incidents are also expected to increase at a disproportionately higher rate. MR safety is a particular challenge due to inconsistent practices with a gap in regulation of safety at the point of care. An MR safety program with an organizational structure of certified MR professionals with recommended roles and responsibilities is needed at the institutional level. Definitive oversight and leadership by an MR safety board is needed at the national level, which we as AsiaSafe's of the Asian Oceanian Society of Radiology recommend as the way forward. As radiologists conducting our practices in MR environments, it is our duty to facilitate a culture of safety. Ultimately, the collective knowledge, dedication, vigilance, and teamwork of MR staff are crucial to MR safety. These are my references for today's talk. Thank you for your kind attention.
Thank you, Dr. Tamara, for giving that.
Sorry if there was a bit of a choppy part.
Yeah, there was some
our
technical
weather is
glitch
really
in between. We missed you for
bad here in the
1 minute or
Philippines.
so. Yeah, correct. So thank you for setting the topic and the discussion forward. In the sense, we have so many guidelines available, right from the Asia guidelines and many of the international society guidelines available. But what you've rightly pointed out is the gap in at the point of care, which is something that needs to be addressed from the MR Safety Committee at the institution level to formulate an MR safety policy, and also has to be regulated, monitored, and accredited by the national MR safety boards. And that is what the message that you have given in your session. Meanwhile, we will go on to the second part of this session on MR safety board, the way forward. Before going to that, our industry partner, MediRace Imaging Private Limited, a company based in India, whose managing director and Mr. Rajesh Nair is also here with us. They have innovated some MR safety products, screening and devices and systems, which they will be showing here. Can you play this demo video of, and I would like to.
Every good technology comes with a risk, and in spite of immense medical advancements down the years, the dangers of metallic object interference in the world of MRI scanning aren't new. At MediRace, we believe in overcoming such dangers by developing products for the safety of every patient. Introducing FerroSafe, a patented device designed under the MediRace MRI Patient Safety Program to help reduce the risk of accidents caused by the unintended attraction of ferromagnetic materials during an MRI scan. This technology includes sensors, an advanced ferromagnetic detection algorithm, along with a high-resolution display and console alarm unit. The dimensions of the restricted area in Zone 3 can be customized during installation with the help of our mapping tool. The patient is assisted to the patient's preparation sensor by a trained technician. The patient stands in front of the ferroscan sensor that scans the entire body for ferrous objects like coins, mobiles, keys, ornaments, pacemakers, metal implants, etc. The patient is then guided by the technician to the MRI room. Here, the FerroSafe sensors mounted on the main door frame of the MRI room in Zone 3 detect any ferrous object, withholding it from entering the room. Once the scanning initiates, our system automatically detects and activates the scan-on indicator light, which can also be activated from the console. The console gets a real-time alert from the sensors when a personnel tries to enter the scan room with any heavy ferrous object like ECG monitors, cylinders, suction machine, etc. During scan-on, even movement of people is notified on the console alarm unit. In case of an emergency, the operator on the console can activate all the lights on the sensor by simply pressing the emergency button. The system provides a digital out signal for managing external electromagnetic devices, such as door locks, ensuring compatibility with third-party lock vendors. We at MediRace believe in blending innovative ideas and technology with expertise, looking forward to providing the most competent solutions to our esteemed clients. Hence, the MediRace MRI Patient Safety Program is indeed a one-stop solution for the utmost MRI patient safety. Be MRI safe.
Thank you, Saridav. And I think we have Mr. Rajesh Nair of MediRace Imaging Private Limited here. Rajesh?
Yeah. Good evening, sir.
Yeah. Would you like to say a few words?
Sure. First of all, thank you, sir, for giving us this opportunity to present our product in this very distinguished board. A we at MediRace, we feel that MRI safety is one of the main concerns in MRI machines. So that's the reason we have designed a workflow which intends to prevent accidents caused by ferromagnetic materials. So in this workflow, we have also put some AI systems inbuilt, which will automatically detect when the patient scanning has taken place. And it will also has a console alarm unit, which alerts the operator if there is any ferrous object or even movements which are there. So our overall aim is to create a kind of a workflow with minimal operator intervention, which will prevent any such accidents. So that's the reason it's a very it's a patented product, and the sensors are all developed in-house. So it's something which we feel that once incorporated should reduce MR accidents.
Thank you, Rajesh. That's a wonderful innovation, and I am sure in tune with the message or tune with the campaign that we are doing on MR safety, it will perfectly fit it. Thank you, Rajesh, for your
Thank you, sir.
support.
Thanks a lot.
Right. Now, we will move on to the second part of the talk, and I have great pleasure to introduce the next speaker, the Executive Committee member of the International Society of Radiology and the Treasurer of Asian Oceanian Society of Radiology, the National Past President of Indian Radiological and Imaging Society, Professor Dr. Hemant Patel. He is an RSNA coordinator for the Asian subcontinent and the editor of the Textbook of Radiology and many national and international publications. He has been awarded the Best Radiology Entrepreneur 2019 at the Health Express Radiology Conclave, and is the director of GIC Prime Radiology and Imaging Center and GIC Group of Diagnostic Centers all over India. Much more than that, he's a good friend of mine, and I'm happy to say that his vision has changed the Indian Radiology and in IRA, Indian Radiology and Imaging Association activities for the last 5 years. With that introduction, I'm extremely happy to invite Professor Dr. Hemant Patel to deliver the talk on MR Safety Board, the way forward. Over to you, Dr. Hemant.
Hey, thank you, Rijo, and it is my pleasure. Today we are having very interesting subject and the seminar long awaited. And I'm very happy to see President of AOSR and dear friend Dr. Nori, Dr. Hung, who is the chair of the MR Safety Asia, Rijo, who is the ambassador and putting all the efforts not only in the India but at the Asian level for this neglected subject, I would say. Hey, Tamara, thank you for putting the platform in the best fashion and making the things easy for me. And Rajesh and team, thank you for sponsoring this event also and supporting such kind of the thing. And we are looking forward for more such kind of the vendors who are sensitive towards the MR safety. As Dr. Noori said in the introductory thing that, it's very common to have so many incidences of MR safety related problems. And I'm just sharing my slide in the meantime. Just a moment. So, in the meantime, there may be accidents do happen because of so many things, especially there is more common in the government hospitals and secondary, especially in the in the corporate hospital also, where people are more in hurry and they want to get done the patients very fast, and the staff is not trained, those who are coming from the ICCU. And because of that, a lot of problem do happen, and they get in with the cylinder, they may get in with the pulse oximeter, and so on and on. So so it is really difficult to tackle such kind of the thing unless and until you are having continuous
Sorry to interrupt you,
teaching
sir.
session.
Sir,
So
sorry to
with
interrupt
them, so can I share, Sharita, can I share from my desktop? Is that possible?
Yes,
Yes,
sir,
sir.
you can share.
Please. Is that visible?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, please.
So it's very common occurrence, and the only key is you have to teach not only to your staff, because your MR staff is not going to make that mistakes. They are in and out aware about that. But the staff from the other department, they make very often such kind of the mistakes. Number two, when when we give machine for even for the regular maintenance, and when they open the magnet flap, we do find so many times safety pins and the small metallic objects, though they are not that lethal kind of the thing, but they are always there, at the coins and small things. That means despite of taking all the due care, we are not still so vigilant that metallic object is still passing. And I'm sure the devices what Rajesh Nair and the team have sold, which will be very effective, before anybody is entering the MR suite. Another problem that is with the higher strength magnet, and especially the 3T, 5T, 7T and beyond. The reason is because of the SAR issue. So patient may be having the feeling of burn and all that. So now, as Tamara said, and we all know day-to-day problem, we need to document them and we need to make the registry. But on a larger canvas, how we can have some kind of the thing, some kind of the body, which we can start today, and down the line, maybe after 10 years, 20 years or 30 years, it will be more robust kind of the version. And I will share my idea how we can go ahead for the MR safety from this very point, and it should be on a global platform. So the MR safety committee is the one of the thing we can formulate at the institution level, which will form the policy as per the guidance by the MR safety board. So all the department, they should have the such kind of the MR safety committee. That is just to promote this culture for the MR safety in the department is also very important. And we can have the committee comprising of the various segment that does include MRMD. That means that, see, just like RSO, as you know, it's a radiation safety officer for the PET CT and the gamma camera and the theranostics. Similarly, this neglected segment of the MR safety, we can have the MRMD, where the in charge doctor of the MRI unit, he may be the part of that head of that committee. There may be the MRSO, which is the technician, chief technician can be the MR safety officer. MRSE level 2, level 1, we can define according to the gradation of the people, those who are working in the MRI department. So by having 5-level committee, that will disseminate the information at based in their own category. So eventually everybody will be not only aware, but there will be some responsible person at each level of MRI department. So this is the very nice pyramid which was suggested by Rijo, and he's so passionate about this. So he keeps sharing that, sir, we can do something like this. And by doing so, eventually we can reach to our goal of more of, streamlining the whole mission of the MR safety. So here we can start with, the training of the people in the department. We can have the screening method. So, before anybody is entering the MR suite, then, we can check them at the door level and before going there also. The MR environment can be, very strictly followed. It should not be, not immediately adjacent to the CT room where, anybody can commit the mistake, so on and on. So every measure should be taken, and the strict system has to be there, which gives like the MR environment, and we can eliminate the silly mistakes. There has to be the protocols before taking the patient, after taking the patient, during the scan also. And wherever the incident is happening throughout the country, throughout the continent, and eventually throughout the globe, there has to be some system which will report each and every case of the MR related emergencies, mistakes, and the mishaps. Another thing, what we can think of, that is to have the regulatory body of the MR safety. So it's a national MR safety board. This is, I'm just giving the example of the India, but it is the same with all the countries like Japan, Korea, later on maybe in the European countries and the US also. So this safety board, this is the regulatory body. In our country, there are many regulatory bodies. For example, RBI is there. It's the Reserve Bank of India, which regulate the, the financial things. SEBI, that regulates the stock exchange. And IRDIA, which is the insurance regulatory, FMC, PFRDA, so on and on. So similarly, we can have a regulatory agency in form of the National MR Safety Board. There has to be training and the certification agency for the MR professional. Its support and promotion of the MR safety screening devices and the systems what we are having available as of now in the market, and the accreditation agency for the center. So we can put the accreditation agency which will verify that this center is having the proper MR safety measures, and they are capable of doing the MR on the regular basis. So we have to check for the compliances. So the rules, standards, policies, requirement, everything has to be, under check, and the transparency and the law and order of given country, they all should have pertaining to the MR. So we have to define the objective and check for the compliances where we can achieve the best standards of MR safety. Another thing is the establish the legal entity. As of now, today, there is no legal law is pertaining. Something is going wrong. Even we are clueless that who is responsible, whether it is the MR ward boy or MR technician or the MR consultant doctor or the owner of that premises or the corporate hospital. So we are at loss because it's incidence based kind of the interpretation by the law. So we need to have some governmental policy also, and establish the legal entity regarding the MR related accident. There has to be some non-profit organization member also. There may be some professional society can be included, and we can make the law for the MR safety related problems. And if something goes against the all our wishes and something happens wrong, then who will be the responsible for the same? So what should be the composition and structure of MR safety board that defines the roles and the responsibility? Whatever the board that will be having the responsibility to make the role and the responsibility. And again, it should be kind of the white paper, which can be changed every year. So for that, my suggestion is to have the board of directors or the governing council who will take care of the final thing. Before that, they will be paid by executive committee members, which are focused on the areas like certification, education, accreditation, research, and the audits. There may be the secretaries, which handles the administrative task and support the board and the committee. So it's a multi-level kind of the model, and eventually they all will report to the board of directors and the governing council, and they will formulate the roles and the responsibility at the various segment to make it more robust kind of the version. To develop bylaws and the policy, we need to establish the rules and the guidelines as we discussed for the board operation, and the decision-making process should be time-bounded. We need to have the meeting frequency and the procedure. This meeting itself is a part of that. We are trying to move forward where we can come to some conclusion, and the conflict of the interest policies can be also discussed out and sorted out with some amicable solution, which is acceptable to each and everyone. So for any such kind of the new mission, because it is not defined anywhere, so we need to push through. It will be a lot of resistance, a lot of hurdles, a lot of challenges. But to get through, once we are determined, I'm very sure we will do that. For that, the one thing will be needed, and that is the secure funding for the same. So for that, we have to identify the sources of funding to support such board activities. It may be contribution from all the major countries and the organization, government grants, which is the one of the other thing, because government also concerned about such kind of the thing. Only thing, we need to go and meet the government personnel. We have to tell them that, look, this MR modality is a great facility to the patient, but having inherent problem and the accident may happen. We want to cut short them, and we need some fund from the government so we can formulate our policies and we can help this mission. Industry sponsorship, of course, this is the one of, I believe, one of the easiest source for the securing funding. All the major MR manufacturer company, we can approach them, and eventually they will help us out to accomplish this our mission as far as finances are concerned. And from the membership fees or whatever the fund is there with the association, we can allot very small amount, maybe 0.5% or something for the MR safety, because all time we are spending this fund for the education of the MR related sequences and the applications and the contraindication, contrast, all. But now for the safety purpose also, we can allot some funding which will help for this given mission. So we can have the accreditation, and that will be having, kind of the pre-accreditation, self-assessment, on-site survey. We can give the report and recommendation, accreditation, decision who will take care, and the continuous quality improvement. But we can formulate somebody which will accredit all the MR centers, then they can give the safety certificate for the same. Now standards and the guidelines for MR safety accreditation, it may include but not limited to personal qualifications and the training of the people involved, MR equipment safety features and the maintenance, though they are robust because major companies, Philips, Siemens, United, Toshiba, they are really, having all the safety features available when they are making the equipment, but later on the incidences may happen when machine comes to site. Patient screenings and contraindication, this is very important, and the center in charge is responsible for taking care of all these things. Safety protocols and emergency procedures, facility design and safety consideration, quality control and quality assurance processing, patient education and informed consent. This is also very important because they are coming first time for the MR. They are not knowing the seriousness if something is going wrong, and compliance with the regulatory requirements. So these are the standards and guidelines for the MR safety. So by doing all the exercises, what are the accreditation benefits to the society as a large and to the healthcare system, and it's enhanced patient safety. We can have the improved staff confidence and the competence. There is the increased credibility and the reputation of the MR society and radiology society at a large, compliance with the regulatory requirement, access to exclusive resources and the support. So what regulatory power should the MR safety board have to enforce safety standards? So this is, we have to, churn out all these ideas. We have to put on the paper, and we can finalize the thing with the time and with such kind of the more and more seminar. We are also, planning, Dr. Hung and the team members will also, Dr. Tamara Rijo, they will submit their report of this year. On that basis, also we can start formulating such kind of the thing. And I tell you, Asian Radiology Society will be, AOSR will be the first one to take the lead with so much sincerity towards the MR safety features worldwide. So how to collaborate with the international organization to adapt global based practices in the MR safety? We will be in a constant touch with the European Society of the Radiology, as well as Radiology Society of the North America and the other interested parties, and we can formulate more and more stringent and the more defined kind of the rules and regulation. The goal of this MR safety is not only local regionally for the India or the Asia or the Asian subcontinent, but we may include each and every part of this globe. Let everybody to be responsible. It's a responsibility of the radiology community at a large to make the awareness and to prevent such kind of the incidences to going to be happen in the future as well. And as I said before, we can have the white paper, so we can have the timely revision to keep the MR safety board relevant. We may reformulate the rules regulation. We may change the, keep changing the board members also. So the new fresh idea will pour in, and there will be the fresh energy, which may take the whole mission to the next level. So I think, that's it. And there are a lot of things, and we can keep churning ideas, and we can keep moving forward. It may be at a slow pace initially, but as Rijo believes, as entire team members, Dr. Hung and Dr. Nouri and everybody believes, I'm also a strong propounder that eventually we will reach to the stage where MR safety will be the normal kind of the things before setting up the MR, during the operation of the MR, and even during the decommissioning of the MR system as well. Thank you so very much. And it was really pleasure to meet each and everyone on this wonderful platform.
Thank you, Professor Dr. Hemant Patel, the Executive Committee member of International Society of Radiology, and also the Treasurer of Asia-Oceanian Society of Radiology, who has given the details of the various components of MR Safety Board. MR Safety Board is, except for American board, which is registered as a non-profit organization, I don't think any other national societies or nation has got an MR Safety Board actively working, or as part of the Ministry of Health, some monitoring mechanisms may be there. But a national MR Safety Board is something that we are mooting here, and we will all work towards it, because as Tamara has rightly pointed out, there is a gap at the point of care. Even though there are a lot of guidelines available, a lot of awareness present on this subject, still a lot of accidents are happening. So there need to be a regulatory body, any body that gives certifications, that makes people responsible for MR safety within every installation, that helps the formation of MR safety committee at the institutional level. And that is why I have proposed this MR safety pyramid, is a call for action on MR safety pyramid, which has got three components of the mission, team, and leadership. And the leadership has got two components essentially, that is the MR safety committee at the institutional level and the MR safety board at the national and the state level. So Dr. Hemant Patel has given in detail the various roles and responsibility, and how the way forward, how we can go about it. And this is now open for discussion. I am sure there will be more suggestions on how to execute this various component of this. How can all the stakeholders be taken in? How should radiologists take a lead? Radiology associations take a lead in this? How should we convince the government? And how should we secure the funding of the operation that is required? Very nicely, Dr. Hemant Patel sir has described the various functionalities that is required from the MR Safety Board. We are now. So let me take some questions here. Before going into the questions, I would request the President of AOSR, Professor Noriyuki Tomiyama, to give his comments on the subjects and how to go forward on MR Safety Board, National MR Safety Board. Over to you, sir.
Yeah. First of all, thank you so much for the wonderful lectures. From two presenters. At first, I have a question to Dr. Tamara. You said training and education about MR safety is so important. So also in my hospital, we usually have 1 or 2 trainings and lectures every year about MR safety. So, but as I said, we could not prevent MR accident. So now I'm thinking how to manage and this kind of issues. Do you have any comment about this?
I actually do have a comment about it. I think from what I've been researching about, the structure of the MR Safety Committee, it's more important that rather than, you can train everybody, you can have lectures, but what I think is very important is that there are actual individuals who are responsible for what is happening. So there should really be specific rules. So if we have, let's say, multiple radiologists, we have multiple radiographers, we have multiple personnel in the MR area, if we actually specify which of the radiologists is the main, the one and ultimately responsible, which of the radiographers are the actual MR safety officers, there will definitely be somebody to really bring structure, rather than sort of like the staff is just all there, all doing different things, but no one is actually really making sure that there is execution. I feel like you can give a lot of lectures, you can attend a lot of seminars, but I think the structure is more important, that there's actually somebody in charge implementation. Because I feel like here in our country specifically, there's so many MRIs all of a sudden going up everywhere. A lot of hospitals that didn't have an MRI, they have one now. A lot of hospitals that have one are now getting 2. Some that have 3 are getting 4. But the people, but there are no individuals who are ultimately responsible within the area So I feel like you can train, but then what the staff turnaround is also so fast. Radiographers come and go. Some radiologists are working by teleradiology. Some are there, some are not there. So it's very hard to know who exactly is implementing and who exactly is in charge. So I think that with a very strict structure, and you have certified individuals, then there's always someone to go to when things are, to prevent things, and when things happen, there's someone to report to. So I feel like on the ground, that's very important.
Let me add on to what Dr. Tamara has said. Assigning responsibility is essential part of that is why we have created the team in that MR safety pyramid. MR medical director, MR safety officer. And because one more thing I just want to add on here is most of the MR accidents here has happened during off hours, where there was no proper monitoring or not proper staffing, no proper responsible person was not there at that point of time. Usually in the night hours, or all these things, it has happened many places. So it is time for us to assign responsibility, and the training to be given at a continuous intervals, regular intervals, training has to be given. May I now invite Professor Eng Kwan Hung, the chair of AsiaSafe, to give his comments on the topic of MR Safety Board. Dr. Eng Kwan Hung? Yes, sir.
Yeah, wait. See. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can, sir.
Yeah.
Please.
Okay, thanks for the two speakers for their elaboration. I would suggest that the AOSR and AsiaSafe to come up with some recommendations, couple of points, what we can do. Of course, the long term is to form the board, and funding that will be, well, take up many years. But as an immediate action, we would really want to go for education and training. As Dr. Tamara has said, training. So perhaps we can try to recommend to the respective member organizations what we can do about that, and also various aspects how we can implement some basic thing as you mentioned in your pyramid. So step by step, right? Immediately what we can do within the resources of each country or organization, and then we move on. And remember, one size doesn't fit all. Each country has to figure out what is best based on their resources, the requirement, the health system. So I would like to see that if it's possible.
Thank you, Professor Eng Kwan Hung, the chair of AsiaSafe, for that comments. So I think, are there any questions, Sarita?
No, sir. As of now, we don't have any.
Yeah, right. So we have received some responses from various professionals in MR safety, and all of them has expressed their need for the MR safety board, because as Tamara rightly pointed out too, there is a gap at the point of care which needs to be addressed. An MR safety board with a proper structure to implement the MR safety pyramid in every department, where the team of MR medical director, MR safety officer, MR safety expert, and the leadership of the MR safety committee at the institutional level, and the MR safety board at the national and the state level to guide them for the policies, and also to give them also to act as a regulatory body, also to act as a body that gives certification for MRMD and MRSO, and also a body that gives them the accreditation for these centers, and conducts audits on a regular basis. As Dr. Hemant Patel has rightly pointed out, the various components of MR safety boards. And this is how we should go about it: the training, the screening, the design part of MR systems and MR environment, where zoning has to be made essential component. As part of our MR safety survey conducted at the Asia-Oceanian Society, we realized that the zoning, especially the zone 3, is missing in most of the installations. or across Asia. Mostly in the tertiary centers, it may be there, but in the secondary level centers, we see a huge gap there. So at the design level itself, the industry also has to support it, and the vendors has to give the proper instruction, the design of the MR room, and this processes of taking the patient after screening has to be regularized. And also, one of the areas that I've seen where MR technologists and radiologists has got lots and lots of doubt and really need some body to support them with resources and to clear their doubts and to guide them is on the implants and devices, whether this implant can be with this device can we take this patient for MR. So these sort of questions are coming up for the technologists, and most of the places in developed nations, they've got huge number of implants and devices where the strict monitoring may be required, some information has to be collected, and these sort of things require a collected and a collaborative effort, and maybe exclusive resources can be shared at the level of MR Safety Board to these centers, these accredited centers. So this is how we will be going about it. And the incident reporting system, as Dr. Hemant Patel has rightly mentioned, that is the need of our immediate past president, Dr. Evelyn Ho, also used to give a lot of emphasis for the incident reporting system, and also to create the just culture in the MR safety department, so that there should not be any inhibitions, which we have to learn from the mistakes and correct it and go forward. And MR Safety Board, I think, to bridge the gap at the point of care level, even though we have got so many guidelines and training or certifications available at the international level, but it has not well percolated down into the Asia-Oceanian level, and it is the need of the hour. And this topic is open for discussion. Now, we may, if you have suggestions on this topic, we are sharing the feedback form at the end of the webinar, and also we have circulated the suggestion on various aspects of formation of MR Safety Board. This is the feedback form. You can give your suggestions on the webinar and also on the MR Safety Board, so that it can be collaborated and presented at the subsequent webinars. And I'm sure, as our chair of AsiaSafe and president of AOSR has rightly mentioned, and the treasurer of AOSR, Dr. Hemant Patel, has rightly mentioned, AOSR will come out with the white paper on this subject and a call for action on the formation of national MR safety boards. We have, I think we have coming to the end of this session. Before I wind up, may I request the speakers, Dr.
Sure.
Tamara.
Rijo, I would like to say something. So,
Yep.
this was such a wonderful discussion.
Yep.
And my suggestion, we can make the minutes of this session.
Yeah.
And during executive committee meeting,
Yes.
we may propose for formation of such kind of the board.
Yes, sir.
Dr. Nori is also here.
Yes, sir.
So by the time of AOCR 2025,
yep,
we may have passed through in the general body meeting as well.
Okay, right.
And
right.
we will be the, kind of very early people to think in
Yes.
this direction. So clear-cut advantage will be on the AOSR side.
Excellent.
Thank you.
That's a very welcome suggestion and direction from Dr. Hemant Patel. The next AOSR is at Chennai in January 2025, and during the executive committee, we will be presenting the minutes of this webinar and the need for the MR Safety Board. And I'm sure the AOSR office bearers and the highest apex body will take a decision to move forward on this. Thank you very much, all the speakers, Professor Dr. Hemant Patel sir and Dr. Tamara Razon Cuenza, for the wonderful lectures you've given. I would also like to thank the president of AOSR, Professor Noriyuki Tomiyama, for gracing the occasion by giving the opening remarks and giving your valuable comments, and Emeritus Professor Eng Kwan Hung, the chair of AsiaSafe, for giving the comments and helping us helping us with this webinar and guiding us on all matters related to AsiaSafe on radiation safety and MR safety. My sincere thanks to immediate past president, Dr. Evelyn Ho, for all the support, and also to all the AsiaSafers, Dr. Tanya Supakul, Dr. Ronak Afrin, and all the AsiaSafe licensing committee members who have helped us in spearheading this campaign on MR safety, and also especially this particular webinar here on MR Safety Board. Thank you very much. All those delegates who have joined in and contributed to this success of this webinar. This topic is a relevant one, and there will be more and more discussions on this topic, and MR Safety Board is a need of the hour, which will happen eventually. And I'm sure all of you will contribute towards the formation of the MR Safety Board, which will make a real difference, which will bridge the gap at the point of care level. Thank you very much. We shall meet in August for the next webinar, and the details of which will be shown to you by the technical team. So Servant Pan has asked this question. It has been noticed that if any accident happened in any corporate sector, they always try to hide. Sumit, can you share that question to me?
Yes, sir. Sharing, sir.
Yeah, it has been noticed that if any accident happened in any corporate sector, they always try to hide those incidents. Most of the time, time management punish technologists whether he or she is responsible or not. How should you overcome those hurdles that authority can understand MR safety? Dr. Hemant Patel or Dr. Tamara, would you like to take this question?
Hey, sorry, can you repeat the question, Rijo?
Yeah, it has been noticed that if any accident happened in any corporate sector, they always try to hide those incidents most of the time, and management punishes the technologist whether he or she is responsible or not. How can this be overcome with the formation of MR Safety Board?
Tamara, you want
Actually,
to take on, and maybe give my inputs as well.
I had a comment on this because one of the reasons, you know, why accidents and incidents are not reported in the first place is fear of punishment. So it's when you have that, then it's hard to report things, and then it's hard to learn from them. So it's very interesting. I read a paper from 3 institutions that have a very collectively really nice culture of MR safety, where they actually have what we discussed, you know, that same structure. And one of their policies is that reporting of accidents and incidents is actually anonymous. So it's a policy where if you want to report incidents, you can do so anonymously so that everybody can learn from the situation. I understand that there is a need for, there's sometimes some punitive issues with these accidents because, of course, there's always somebody to blame. Looking for blame on who's responsible, but it's sort of, it doesn't really promote the culture of safety in that sense. So I totally understand this question. And it would be better if, rather than approaching it from, you know, someone needs to be punished, it's more of let's learn from it and move forward, because reporting of incidents should actually sort of lead into learning from the incident as well. So Dr. Hemant, I hand the floor over to you for your own comments.
Hey, Tamara, I fully agree with your viewpoint, and nobody would like to report such kind of the cases unless and until it is anonymous. But the second part of the question was that they blame to the technologist of the MR department. So at the safety net, what I would propose is that at least once a 6 months, there has to be talk from MR technologists, chief technologists, to rest of the corporate staff members, may it be a Zoom online or physical, that, MRI safety kind of the things. Before you come to the MR department, please take care. If they start this such kind of the teaching attitude, then nobody will blame to the radiology department. And then that is the, that in my view, that is the safety net. Rijo, any inputs for the same?
Yeah, exactly. See, the thing is, we have to create, the mission of MR safety is to create the just culture within the department, where the free interactions should take place. And as immediate past president Dr. Evelyn, who always used to say, to make error is something that humans do, but to correct it and learn from the mistakes. And that is what the importance of just culture I've always heard from her. So the creating the just culture within the department is essential. And for that, we need to have this assigning the responsibility, the MR safety committee, the safety policy, and interacting with the corporate sector, interacting with the institutional heads and making them aware. Most of them are not aware about the dangers of an MR installation. So it is essential for us to involve all the stakeholders within that institution about the dangers of MR accidents, projectile accidents, etc., and to have regular training sessions for all the staff, level 1 staff, all the hospital staff, as rightly mentioned by Dr. Tamara and Dr. Hemant Patel. So that is the need of the hour. There has to be an assigned responsible person, there has to be regular training, and there has to be a creation of a just culture where people can learn from by reporting the incidents. And incident reporting registry also has to be maintained and at the department level, which also should be an essential part where MR Safety Board should encourage the departments to implement, to have an MR safety incident reporting system in every department. So that is how we can take it forward. Professor Rang, any comments?
Yeah. I like to
Yes, sir,
comment. This issue goes beyond MR safety. It is a whole issue of safety culture. It doesn't only happen in MR. It happens in radiological imaging, like CT scan, for example. And often in our local Asian culture, we always have to blame somebody. The very top will blame the lower level. They are the scapegoats. Often, so lower ranking officers, the technology, radiograph, always get the blame, though they are not for their own. This is quite prevalent in our culture. My experience working with the IAEA and with radiological accidents, look at the accidents reports and causes. So we have, and also no blame culture, right? We don't blame each other. The aim is to improve for the sake of patients. So all the stakeholders come together to acknowledge we need each other. Radiological practice is so interdependent, multidisciplinary. So we move, if all think about patient safety, and we can achieve the goal. And this will be a good point we can bring up, right, for this MR Safety Board, and how AOSR and AsiaSafe could move to improve this safety culture, and of course the MR safety.
Thank you, Professor Rang, for that suggestion. That is the safety culture, the patient safety and the safety culture has to be promoted, and all the components of that has to be implemented so that this blame culture will go and the just culture will prevail in the department. With that message, we will conclude this session, and I wish to thank each and every delegate who has joined in here and has taken part in this discussion, and also all the speakers and the office bearers of AsiaSafe and AOSR for the wonderful webinar we had right now. Also wish to thank the technical partners, Vidocto, for this technical support, and also wish to thank our industry partner, Mr. Rajesh Nair of Mediray Imaging Private Limited, for the support provided, and their innovations let their tribe increase and support the cause of MR safety. With that message, I wish to conclude the session of MR Safety Board today. Thank you very much.